Hi everybody, it's Richard here again and welcome to another video. Now this is a continuation of my top 10, 15, 20, 30 albums from the years 1965 to 1989. Now I did a poll and put 3 years up, which I think were 1969, 1977 and 1983, and 1983 won by a whisker. Now I'm going to do top 30 this time because it's such a fantastic year, and in real time I loved the music. So in 1983 I was 17 years old and all these albums were great, and the weather was absolutely brilliant. A real long hot summer, although I can't stand the heat now, but that's a different matter altogether. So what I'll do is I'll race through 30 to 16 quite quickly and then maybe concentrate a little bit more on 15 to number 1. But as normal, there's 3 bubbling unders which I'll mention, and they are ZZ Top, Eliminator, and there's some really great singles off this like Sharp Dressed Man, Legs and Give Me All Your Lovin', but other great tracks like Got Me Under Pressure and TV Dinners, which I think might have been singles as well. The other one is Punch the Clock by Elvis Costello. It's not one of my favourites, it didn't make the top 30 albums. It has the fantastic Every Day I Write the Book on it, as well as Let Them All Talk, which is very Dickies Midnight Runners type horns on it, and I think Pills and Soaps on it as well. It's an okay album. And the third one is Duran Duran, Seven and the Ragged Tiger, which again has really good singles like Union of the Snake and New Moon and Monday, and then a remix of the Reflex. But one of my favourite tracks off that is I Take the Dice, but it's mostly side 1 I prefer over side 2, and it's a bit of a departure as well from Rio. Okay, my top 30 are, starting at number 30, and it's Kenny Rogers, believe it or not, Eyes That See in the Dark. This is a Bee Gees album. It was written by the Bee Gees, and it has the big hit Islands in the Stream and the magnificent Eyes That See in the Dark on it, and it's a mixture of country and pop, so it's a good album. Number 29, and I have Eurythmics, Touch, with the singles Who's That Girl, Right By Your Side and Here Comes the Rain Again. And one of my favourite tracks off this is Regrets. They had 2 albums this year. This I think is slightly the best. At number 28, and I don't have the original version of this, this is the reissue from a couple of years later, and it's the original Madonna album, simply called Madonna. My version is the first album, but this is Lucky Star, Borderline and Holiday on it, which are 3 of her best ever singles, and things like Burning Up, Physical Attraction, Think of Me. It's a very good album. Number 27, you might think this is low, but I think it's a good album, but it's far from my favourite Police album, and it's Synchronicity. And the big hits off this were Every Breath You Take and Wrapped Around Your Finger here, but in America King of Pain was a big hit, and Synchronicity a minor hit. The track I do like off this is Mother, believe it or not, going into Miss Gradinko. I think it's very, very good, but it's not their best, but I still think it's a good album. At number 26, and I have Yazoo, You and Me Both, with the huge hit Nobody's Diary. There's no other single off this. I always thought Walk Away From Love should have been a single, but maybe it was a little bit reminiscent of the previous single to Nobody's Diary, which is called what was it called? The Other Side of Love. Mr. Blues, one of my favourites off this, and there's another one called Ode to Boy, which I think is very good. At number 25, we have Tracy Allman, You Broke My Heart in 17 Places. This is just a really good fun pop album. There's 3 big hits off this: Breakaway, Move Over Darling, and the Kirsty MacColl written They Don't Know. I think this is really, really good. The version of Blondie, Always Touched by Your Presence Dear, and the title track was also written by Kirsty MacColl. Really good 60s type of pop, so that gets my number 25. Number 24, and we have Agnida False Cog and Wrap Your Arms Around Me. Now this is a good album. The 3 singles are very good. The Heat Is On, and especially Wrap Your Arms Around Me, which was written by Mike Chapman. Absolutely love it. And Can't Shake Loose is not bad. But one of the highlights of this is the song written by Agneta herself called Man. Wonderful track. At 23, and we have Sparks and In Outer Space. I remember this being in our record store as well, a record shop. I'm not American. And this is the one with Cool Places with Jane Wiedlin, which is never one of my favourites, but popularity is very good. All you ever think about is sex, and especially Rockin' Girls, where it mentions Hey Jude. It's a very good album from Sparks. Sparks in the 80s were really good. At number 22, and we have U2 and War, and the two hits off this were New Year's Day and Two Hearts Beat as One. I always preferred Two Hearts Beat as One. I remember it in the summer of '83 coming out. I thought it was great. But my favourite track off this is The Refugee, and I really do love Seconds as well. And what's the other one? Oh, aye, Sunday Bloody Sunday, of course. So War gets my number 22. Number 21, and we have Echo and the Bunnymen and Porcupine. And the two hits off this were The Cutler and Back of Love, which are both brilliant. My favourite track though is Heads Will Roll, which is great, and there are other great songs like Gods Will Be Gods and In Bluer Skies and Porcupine itself. It's just for Higher Hell. It's a very, very good album. Probably my favourite Echo and the Bunnymen album. At number 20 we have XTC and Mummer, and this was the follow-up to English Settlement. And the thing about this is I think this could have been better, because some of the B-sides from the singles around this time were better than the LP tracks, but you still have Loving a Foreign Boy's Wages, which is good. Great Fire, which is a really awkward single. It's awkward to get into, but it works so well. You really do. It takes a while. Wonderland as well. Wonderland has got a very, very summery feel to it. Beating of Hearts is a great opener. It's a good album, but it could have been better. Okay, number 19, and we have Elton John's Too Low for Zero, and there's 4 hit singles off this. I'm Still Standing, I guess that's why they call it the blues. Kiss the Bride, and then there was Coldest Christmas, which was a double A side with Crystal. But it is a good album as well. Like Saint and One More Arrow are very good, and the title track is the best song outside of the, I guess that's why they call it the blues. So it's a good album. At number 18, and we have Paul Simon's Hearts and Bones, and this was originally going to be the Simon and Garfunkel album, but they fell out. Allergy's great opener. Hearts and Bones is a beautiful song, really is. There's a couple that aren't that great, like Cars Are Cars, I just don't like, and I never liked the late great Johnny Ace that they sang at Central Park, or well, Paul sang at Central Park. But I think Too Much, two versions are both very good. Song About the Moon is very good. It's a good album. At number 17, and it's Adamant and Strip, and the highlights of this are very high. For example, Puss in Boots I think is one of his best singles. I absolutely love the song Montreal and Spanish Games. Spanish Games I think should have been the second single. Second single was Strip, which is a decent enough track, and it has Frida doing a narration on it, which is cool. Baby Let Me Scream At You's okay, but there are a couple of dodgy ones on here, like Navel Tonight and Vanity, but it's still a pretty good album. So that's Strip is my number 17. Number 16 is going down a little bit for me because I'm not really into them at the moment, and it's Talking Heads and Speaking in Tongues, and many call this their best album, but it does have things like Slippery People on it, which I think is better live. I really do. Maybe it's because I heard the live version first. Burning Down the House I think is better live as well. Then you get Making Flippy Floppy and Girlfriend Is Better. It's really good songs, but with Talking Heads you need to be in the mood for them. So that gets my number 16. Okay, number 15, and we have Graham Parker and The Real McCaw, and I think this is a fantastic album. Yeah, it starts off with You Can't Take Love for Granted, which is really, really good, although the CD version when it was issued changed the track listing a bit and made Just Like a Man the opener, which I think is even better. You also get Glass Jaw, which is good. Life Gets Better is so catchy. It was a single, don't understand why it didn't do so well. Beyond a Joke, this is one of his strongest 80s albums. It is also one of his poppiest 80s albums, and it's well worth investigating. So Graham Parker, The Real McCaw gets my number 15. Number 14, and we have Mike Oldfield and Crisis. Now, I used to not like the first side of this, which is the title track Crisis, but it has really grown on me of late. There's another album that's pretty high up here that's really grown on me of late. But the second side is the pop songs, and you have Moonlight Shadow, which is fantastic. Foreign Affair, also sung by Maggie Riley, should have been the second single, even though Shadow on the Wall, which was the second single, is a good rock track. Foreign Affair is a great summer song, and for me would have broken the top 5. Taurus 3 is great acoustic guitar playing, and In High Places with John Anderson on vocals is not very good. But the title track itself takes up about 20 minutes, and it has grown on me, so I do like it a lot more, so that gets my number 14. And number 13, and we have Billy Joel, An Innocent Man. Now this was riddled with singles. First of all, you got Uptown Girl, then you got Tell Her About It, and then Leave a Tender Moment Alone, An Innocent Man, The Longest Time, This Night, all great songs. The ones that weren't singles are not quite as good, although Keeping the Faith is a very good track, but then I think it was released as a single later on, a couple of years later. But this is Billy Joel's Back to the 50s, and I think it's excellent, and it gets my number 13. Number 12, and it's a covers album, and it's UB40, Labour of Love. And at this stage of the game, I loved UB40. I had their first 3 albums, and I remember hearing Red Red Wine live before the studio version on one of those pop shows. I'm not too sure which one it was. I thought it was fantastic. Went out, bought the album, loved every bit of it. Cherry O Baby, hit single. The Stones covered that on their Black and Blue. Red Red Wine, of course, but this one is the 12-inch version, or the extended version, which I think is better. You had Many Rivers to Cross and Please Don't Make Me Cry were the other 2 singles, but everything off this is really catchy. She Caught the Train, brilliant. Sweet Sensation, great. Keep On Moving, the Bob Marley song, very good. Guilty, I'm not too sure who wrote it, but it is a little bit saccharine. It is a little bit sweet, but it's good. So UB40, Labour of Love, gets my number 12. Number 11, and I probably would have had this in the lower regions, but I have really got to appreciate Slade's The Amazing Kamikaze Syndrome, and this is a good rocking album. Now this had 2 big hit singles, 2 top 10s for Slade in the 80s, unbelievable. My Oh My, which I do like, and the very big country influence from Runaway. But you get really good hard rockers like Slam the Hammer Down and Ready to Explode, very, very good. C'est La Vie was actually the very first single off it, and it is a big, big ballad. It's a big power ballad, and I think it's actually better than My Oh My, but it didn't do too well. High and Dry is good, Cheap and Nasty Love, Razzle Dazzle Man. All really good songs, and that's why it gets my number 11. Okay, going into the top 10, and my number 10 is Nick Lowe's The Abominable Showman. And this was one of my least favourite Nick Lowe albums, but again, I think it's because I've never overplayed this. Whenever I play it again, I thought this was really, really good. Starts off with We Want Action, which is excellent. Then you get the rocker, Raging Eyes, which reminds me a little bit of Bruce Springsteen Around the River Time. You get Wish You Were Here, which was a duet with Paul Carrick. Chicken and Feathers is decent. Mess Around with Love is an old Brinsley Schwartz song which was redone. How Do You Talk to an Angel is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. A ballad, it's all strings, lovely. And Man of a Fool's good. Saint Beneath the Paint, very, very catchy. Very good album. I'll still say it is one of his least, but it's still excellent, and as you know, he's one of my top 5 artists. So Nick Lowe's The Abominable Showman, had to get that right there. At number 9 we have Cyndi Lauper and She's So Unusual, and yeah, this is excellent. It opens up with Money Changes Everything, which is brilliant. Girls Just Want to Have Fun, overplayed but I still love it. And then When You Were Mine, the Prince song, which I absolutely adore, absolutely love that song. I haven't actually heard Prince's version, although I don't think I have. And Time After Time, that's side 1, perfect. Side 2 not quite as good, but you still do get Shabop and All Through the Night. And the rest of it is okay, but the side 1 especially and the start of side 2 make this an absolutely brilliant album. So She's So Unusual gets my number 9, by Cyndi Lauper. At number 8, and the Rolling Stones, Undercover, and this does usually get a hard time. I really do like this. I don't understand why people don't. Undercover of the Night is one of their best ever singles, and that includes their 60s stuff as well. It's just great. And She Was Hot is so much fun, especially when you watch the tacky video, and it is tacky but it's good. I always loved Keith's Wanna Hold You, thought it was really catchy. Too Much Blood with the horns could have been a single, it really could have. Maybe take out the spoken verses and do something else, but maybe a 12-inch instrumental mix of that, I think it would have done quite well. Then you get normal Stone songs like All the Way Down, It Must Be Hell and Too Tough, which is really good. Feel On Baby is a bit sort of reggae type, as is Pretty Beat Up, but it's a fantastic album, and it gets my number 8. At number 7, and we have OMD Dazzle Ships, and this was the one that just did nothing for them at all. This nearly sunk them completely, but I think it's brilliant. It's so experimental, and you have things like, if I can get the track list in here, Radio Prague, which is, it's just noise, and it's like a radio station. Genetic Engineering was a single. It didn't do too well. It did get top 30 though, but I thought it should have done far better. Telegraph is as catchy OMD as you'll get. This is Helena International, very good. Romance of the Telescope is one of their best ever songs. Silent Running, Radio Waves, and of all the things we've made, I think this is a really, really good listen. Where are we? Yeah. It's best listened to as a whole rather than picking tracks out, and that's why you very rarely get songs from this on their compilations. But yeah, it's well worth listening to, and it's probably my favourite OMD album. So that is number 7, Dazzle Ships. At number 6, and we have Bow Wow Wow, and When the Going Gets Tough, the Tough Get Going. This is their last album, and this is fantastic. It opens up with Aphrodisiac, which is really good, and then the hit single, well, minor hit single, Do You Want to Hold Me? Roustabout, one of my favourite tracks of theirs, I think it's fantastic as well. What's the Time, Hey Buddy, really, really catchy. Mario, Your Own Way to Paradise, excellent. Ricky D, Love, Peace and Harmony, Lonesome Tonight. This very rarely gets talked about. It's regarded as a sort of a second-rate Sea Jungle album, but I think it's nearly as good. Really is very, very good album, and it gets my number 6. At number 5, and I have the Stranglers and Feline, and I've said before, this is their Avalon album. It's such a slick production, it's beautiful. 3 singles off it, European Female, which was a hit single at the end of '82. Midnight Summer Dream, which was a remix of this album track. They couldn't release this version here because it just wasn't single material, but they did a fine job remixing it. And Paradise, which is one of my favourite tracks off this. But things like It's a Small World, Ship That Passed in the Night, it's very acoustic, but it's just a beautiful, beautiful listen. And yeah, Blue Sister, another great one. So the Stranglers, Feline gets my number 5. At number 4, and we have Big Country and The Crossing. Now this is the green cover. I've got the blue cover as well, and there is a red cover which I have on CD. But the first single off this was actually Harvest Home, which failed to chart, and it's my favourite track off this, or second favourite. Then you have Fields of Fire, brilliant. In a Big Country, brilliant. Chance, brilliant. Inwards, the second song, is probably my favourite song off this. I think it's a magnificent track. Poor Old Man is really good. The Storm, 1000 Stars, really strong album. And there was a thread going around saying you only need one album by whatever artist, and I think I only need this. Although I do quite like their second album as well. It might get into my top 30, but this is by far their best, and this is The Crossing by Big Country. Number 3, and it's David Bowie's Let's Dance, and this is an album really of two halves for most people. All the big hits are on side 1, Modern Love, China Girl, Let's Dance, and then Without You, which was also a single in America. But side 2 is it's no slouch. Ricochet is a really great track, as is the closing track, Shake It, which I thought should have been released. Cat People is a reworking of the 1982 song. I prefer the original version, and Criminal World is a cover version, which is okay. But generally speaking, this just takes me back to 1983, and I loved it. I couldn't wait for this to come out, and you know, it didn't disappoint, and it still holds up today. It's got that sound, that 1983 sound that a few artists have, and it just sparks a memory. So my number 3 is David Bowie's Let's Dance. At number 2, an eyebrow may be raised, and is Paul McCartney's Pipes and Peace. I adore this, I really do. Say 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 is brilliant, as is the title track. But things like The Other Me is a really good song. Keep Undercover, fantastic. Even The Man with Michael Jackson, I think should have been released. I think it would have gone so well. Sweetest Little Show in Town going into Average Person, really good. So Bad, its best ever falsetto. And then you get the sort of funky tracks like Tug of Peace and Hey Hey, wonderful. So Pipes of Peace, it always gets slated, but it's my number 2 album of 1983. So my number 1 album of 1983 is Altered Images and Bite. And this was produced, half of it was produced by Tony Visconti and half of it was produced by Mike Chapman, so that's a big plus to start with, 2 of my favourite producers. And I'm not too sure who produced what, I never actually checked. But a few singles off this: Don't Talk to Me About Love, really good. Now you have to realise this is nothing like their Happy Birthday or Pinky Blue Altered Images. This is more sophisticated. It's almost got a little bit of a disco feel to it, but it's not disco either. And this also has that 1983 feel. Bring Me Closer was the second single, which didn't do as well, and I thought it was every bit as good. Love to Stay, you get the 12-inch version on this, another great track, as is the other single, Change of Heart. Another Lost Look, brilliant as well. Now That You're Here is probably my favourite track off this, and it wasn't a single. I think this is a really good album, and Altered Images were a really good band. They have 3 albums, all completely different. The first album was very dark and moody, apart from the title track, which was Happy Birthday. Pinky Blue was almost like their childlike album, but it was really good fun, and this here is more like their dancey, disco-y, sophisticated album, let me put it that way. And this is their best. Now I haven't heard their new one, which is Claire Grogan from about last year, but from what I've heard of it, it's not very good. So Altered Images, Bite, my number 1 album of 1983. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that, and I will put up another 3 dates and I'll let you vote on which one I should do next. Okay, that's me for now. All the best now. Bye bye.